The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. Brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. Three of us here. It's Dan with Michael and with Moscow White as well. It's time for Heroes and Villains. We've got the Ken Bates Villain of the Week award named after our former owner and Mr. Chairman, who brought us plenty of misery across his spell at Ellen Road. Nominations, please. We've got plenty of coming from our TSB Plus members. Where are we starting?
Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Gets plenty. Ender nominated him, saying, players will make mistakes, underperform and have bad games. That happens. But Rodrigo's sins run much deeper than that. He looks for all the world like a man who just doesn't give a toss. Which I can kind of go along with for an awful lot of the time.
I've got an old fat pug that moves with more intensity than Rodrigo does. 27 million for a player to have four half decent games against teams that finish in the bottom two. That's no mercy crease.
But what does he contribute to the leadership council? We can't disregard that.
Can we do less running? That's what he... that was his input on Bielsa's methods, wasn't it?
Question from Howling Rick says, how can people in the media think he can make the Spain squad? Are they deranged? I've got a better chance than I'm from Cass.
It's the people picking the Spanish team keep putting him in it. It's although he had that he had the shame at the Euros, didn't he? Not shame, but of being called up when they had some COVID people and then being told to go away again.
Shame.
You can't have your holiday. That's it. They just ruined his holiday.
Yeah.
And didn't let him any closer to the team than that.
He's the leading nominee at the minute. There's quite a lot of people screaming into the void, I noticed. People who are just sort of generally despairing at the situation. Like, if Berardi scores, we're off to Biggie's saying, Leeds, the results, the relegation. I'm on my honeymoon in Mauritius. I imagine my wife will want a divorce after Thursday when I have a meltdown and ruin the holiday.
Are we nominating the void?
Potentially. I mean, Tom is saying the Premier League for being shite. The best we can hope for is that we don't go down every year. Load of old bollocks. Philip swinging wildly. Scattergun approach. Marsh for being a dick. Lampard for being a total dick along with Richarlison, the cheating character. Brighton, like, seriously, what the fuck? Why bother, you seagull-loving bastards, etc. It goes on, it goes on.
Yeah, Marsh gets a couple of nominations as well, which is a bit harsh in the week in which we've probably had the best performance under him.
Harsh on Marsh.
Although this is the follow-up to Chelsea as well, isn't it?
Oh, that's true. Yes. Yeah, Sean Case says, feel sorry for Ted Lasso being compared to Jesse. Absolutely inept and has turned a shit team into an absolutely fucking abysmal team. Players look clueless and utterly devoid of any idea of how to play football.
Yes. Actually, I'm asking, what is his fucking problem?
All he had to do was walk around the pitch clapping politely. But no, there he is, beating his chest like a demented baboon. The lack of self-awareness is staggering, considering he's yet to achieve anything. Some of the hatred for Jesse does amuse me, I have to say. As much as I sometimes feel a bit bad for him.
Yeah.
On a human level.
Yeah. You do have to try and fight it. Like, after we'd gone a goal down on Sunday, I looked at him standing at the edge of the technical area, and he was doing this thing where his feet are too far apart again. And I was just looking at his back and thinking, God, and I had to stop myself. Like, you cannot reasonably just like hate the way somebody stands. You've got to be careful. And we did say second half, it seemed like, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? All of the Gandhi-gate stuff boiled down to him. It was a quote about belief, wasn't it? And he's saying, like, yeah, I use this to help the players believe in themselves. And he's saying at half-time against Brighton, I just didn't see in their faces that the players are believing in themselves. It's like, what have you been telling them for the past 2 months apart from believe in yourselves? And here they are, and they don't. And
Do it better.
Do it better. But somehow that he did... It happened in the second half, didn't it? And I don't want to be saying that none of what happened in the second half that the players just... I don't think the players have gone rogue and are suddenly just picking their own team independently of what he's asking them to do. I think he has seen that we need to get Rafinha wider. You could see from the start of the game that Rafinha was almost in his dugout. He was that wide. So he's getting us back there. But I think the phrase bitten off more than he could chew is perhaps made for Jesse this season.
Yeah.
Both in Leipzig and Leeds.
He didn't have to take the job, but he chose to do so. And I guess none of the Gandhi, Mother Teresa stuff will make a jot of difference if we stay up. Everyone will just sweep all that to the side and go, okay, then we got there, we breathe. Let's have a break, for God's sake, and we'll just see what the summer brings.
I did also enjoy his it's just funny the way he put it on one of his interviews. He said he was talking about how people when they see him in Leeds are telling like, come on, like keep Leeds up, and he says, oh, we need that. If you see Leeds players during the week, I want you to go over and push them. I think that I would gladly push them all into a hedge after some of the games this year, but I think he meant, give them a push. Yes, Junior, etc.
Let's talk about Junior then, shall we? He got a few nominations. Even though it was one of his better games, weirdly, Ilkley Arsehole is saying he's a comically bad defender, lucky not to get sent off every game. When is Leif Davis coming back? I
mean, defensively, he is absolutely awful. We said he had a better second half, and that was mainly the stuff he did going forward. Defensively,
yeah, but that left-hand side, as Moscow said, like
it's catastrophic.
Yeah,
like he cannot. He's constantly stood the wrong side of it. I know when we had Dorigo in, we were just chatting about the season and stuff. And bear in mind how placid Tony is. The only time he got sort of animated was when we started talking to him about Junior Firpo, because he was it was stopping short of us saying he's shit. He was very visibly like upset with some of his defending. He was like, you just got to get in the right side of it, and when it's down there, you need to stand here. And it seemed quite basic stuff that he was. There is explaining
the smallest hint to it on the record. In part 2 of the 91-92 special with Dorigo, where we talk about the key moments of the season and the fact that he was voted player of the season. So he knows a good left back, and I think I kind of made that point to him. We were discussing current issues with the left back, and it was, don't get me started on that. And that's as far as he went on the record, wasn't it? Anyway,
but equally, he is our only left back at the moment, so he will start on the weekend. So let's get behind him for at least another 90 minutes, or until he is sent off, which he has still not been this season, despite his very best efforts.
Inside the stadium, there's still a lot of tolerance of him, despite his eccentricities.
He also did his best to injure someone during the celebrations as well on the weekend. He came like flying over everyone's heads, didn't he?
And nearly ended up in the West Stand, didn't he?
He was more likely to hurt himself doing that, but yeah, he did stick his calf into Joffy's face. It was funny, Joffy was kind of hanging around the celebrations going like, do I get any for this? Everyone's on like piling on Pascal Struijk, and bless him, all he got was kicked in the face by Junior Firpo as he went fully flying over the top. I enjoyed that. Like if we could just keep Junior around for having a nice moustache and jumping over the top of celebrations, he'd fine.
TJ says about him under Bielsa, he's saying about how bad he was. Under Bielsa, I put it down to the man marking system. However, it seems that the expansive grass and noise of the crowd turns him into an excitable puppy, only a lot less endearing, and he's shitting on our season. Oh well.
His left-sided defensive pal Liam Cooper gets mentioned. Not all of Liam Cooper though. It's just his bonds, his Swede, his head for putting it. His massive head, as Quick Draw McGraw describes it. For putting it in the way of Joffrey's little hooked shot in the early stages of the Brighton game. But Lucy pointing it out as well, it's like the absolute perfect embodiment of all the bastarding bad luck we've had this season.
And that's where there's some credit for the final result comes in. We're not just overcoming playing quite bad football, but shit like that as well, that makes you think, we're never going to get anything out of this game. But 90 minutes later... Well, it was exactly 90 minutes later. We were still plugging away and got the rewards. So Liam Cooper's face didn't hinder us as much as it might. We overcame it.
There were a number of miscellaneous Leeds United nominations as well. Lone Wolves who wanted to nominate various people. Like, for example, Yorkie Dave annoyed with Pablo for not sneaking on to set up the winner.
I didn't know Pablo was there until afterwards when I saw his little clips of him playing football with his lad on social media.
Somebody got a screen grab of the international coverage, didn't they? And sort of tweeted it out, and that's when I think everybody became aware of it.
And Becky O was in the East Stand as well, in the box.
Too many heroes in one stadium, weren't there? Because they did all the 92-72 stuff as well, which I'd missed, admittedly, before the game, but I believe they did that.
Yep.
And speaking of which, where the heroes were, Dan James was there. He was, and I highlight this because I don't think Katie will be the only one who was asking where was the little scum bastard on the lap of honour. Pat Bamford was walking off down the tunnel, and there was somebody with him who he was talking to, who was wearing a baseball cap, who I just did not recognise. And I was staring at him, I was like, who's this guy? It's like somebody run on the pitch, but Bamford knows him. Is he a mate? Is he a friend of the players? They sometimes have there's lads that they know with them, and it's suddenly the penny drops. It's Dan James. I don't know if underneath the hat, if he's had a haircut.
It's the fringe. It's a Lego fringe.
He did have a haircut when he was sent off the other week. I think
it caused it. It caused it, didn't it?
So it was quite short at the sides, so it didn't look. There was no underneath the hat. You wouldn't accept it. But yeah, if you go back, it's the little
scumbastard.
The stranger in the baseball cap is our star winger.
There were a few people as well getting annoyed at the prospect of Luke Ayling having gone on holiday through the week, and he was there doing the lap of appreciation. So
yeah, he dropped his missus off for she was off on a hen do, so she's gone.
Yeah,
but she shouldn't have been allowed.
Yeah, what? Don't she care enough about Leeds United? So to the people who tweeted asking thoughts on this, none whatsoever. It's a man who went to an airport. It doesn't mean anything.
I think the photo wasn't even from the airport. The one that was going around,
like a Costa or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, but
who cares?
But the internet sort of detectives had found out that it was the future, soon to be Mrs. Kyle Bartley's hen do. So the prediction was that there would be a concurrent stag do, and that was where Luke Ayling was going. But it was all just invented.
All bollocks.
Yeah. And that's they've been pretty bad at football at times this season, but I think deep down, as people, they're still just about above swanning off on Kyle Bartley's. And even Kyle Bartley's not going to arrange his stag do during Leeds United season.
Brighton get a few nominations as well. James in Oz is saying all those characters in yellow who were time wasting from the 35th minute onwards, fuck you. That's not actually true, They were time wasting from pretty much the get-go.
Strange, really strange. I can see why you do it when you're a worse team, but
it seems to be a hallmark of the Premier League, though.
A bit like Wolves did it as well, and you think, well, you kind of don't need to do this.
There's no way you do it in this game as well. Like, the result isn't vital for them. I know Potter was saying afterwards about maintaining the integrity of the competition and all that kind of stuff. But what integrity does the competition have if half the points that are gained because you've just laid down on the grass to have a cry so that nobody can actually play football?
And also, when the ball's in play for like 50 minutes of a game, you just think, well, what's the point of this, really?
No, we won't miss any of it. Stupid game. Ryan is...
Are you forgetting about the incredible amount of time wasting that went on in the Championship when like Gary Monk would turn up and take a minute over a throw-in from the start?
I've blocked it all out, Michael.
Fair enough.
Ryan is picking out Sideshow Bob and the Brighton team for being absolute wet lettuces. Every team who have time wasted against us have basically given us points in the end.
That's true, actually.
So there's a moral story, there's a moral lesson, yeah. Bissouma picked out by Roger as well for being a ridiculous cheat. First half, fell over holding his head after Cucurella's head was clipped by Rodrigo. Second half, collapsed after the ball hit his knee.
That was ridiculous. Just don't do it. And just don't.
Legacy fan Kevin as well pointing out that people will be annoyed by Alexis McAllister for having a silly name that is apparently pronounced McAllister, but the voice in my head can't help but pause between Mac and Alistair like I just did. McAllister. Because he's not Gary McAllister, is he?
Was he wearing number 10 as well, McAllister?
Absolutely no right to do that.
Not at Ellen Road, thank you very much.
I mentioned on the match ball it was the final chance to see Mike Dean at Ellen Road, although he will be, I think he's staying on VAR duties next year, isn't he? So if we're down, we won't have to deal with that. If we are up, we will have to deal with that. As it was on Sunday, we had to deal with him in person. A few people picked him out. Nothing beyond the usual grievances here, really.
People just didn't know he exists, more or less. Leant Cheese does pick up on VAR not showing or looking at the handball in the second half, which I haven't actually seen back.
I've seen a still of it, and I was like, oh, bloody hell, yeah.
Are you saying we were robbed?
Probably.
Good. That's near enough for me.
And there were a couple of Spurs and Burnley objections. Matt Viuda. Now, this is troublesome because whenever I read this, I read Mark Viduka because my brain's programmed that way. But it's Matt Viuda who annoyed at Spurs for not putting Burnley to the sword. Boney M making a very good point. Burnley for not making the Spurs game much easier to watch. Why won't you die?
Yeah, it's true. They could have made this last week of the season a joy, couldn't they, if they'd have just not won those games, which they didn't deserve to, probably.
And Danny Welbeck, I mean, I'm annoyed that he scored. Keelan reminding us that we did start a rumour. I mean, very, very obviously start a rumour. We went on this podcast and said, Let's start a rumour about a player potentially signing for Leeds. Right.
It's because he was a free agent, wasn't it? We were looking down a list of free agents and saying, who shall we say on this list is going to sign for Leeds?
And we said, let's go for Danny Welbeck because it's not beyond the realms of possibility. We were in the Championship at the time. I mean, as it is, he's stayed in the Premier League with Brighton ever since, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility. We said it on the podcast, and then we did a couple of, it was very not so subtle hints that he'd been spotted at a petrol station outside Leeds or something, and then all the clickbait sites ran it, and even a couple of newspapers ran it, didn't they, which was funny.
Didn't he? He then turned up in the St John's Centre, didn't he? Which we never got from Jan Vertonghen. Never quite dedicated himself to the bit the way that Danny Welbeck did.
Good of him to get in on the joke, I think. Anyway,
yeah. Team player. Who is your villain of the week?
I mean, Rodrigo gets quite a lot. I mean, do we wait to summer before we absolutely
rinse him? Yeah,
start on the full on hatred.
I feel like we need to be supportive going into this final week. It's not going to help to be negative.
But then we've tried different approaches with him, and he can basically only play well against Norwich and Watford.
But all right now. So what if we use it as a motivational tool? What if this, instead of carrot, this is stick, and he wants to prove us wrong and shove it in our faces?
Well, Jesse's giving him a rub down and told him how great he is, hasn't he? So, and that's not worked. So do we need to be bastards to him? So should we give it? Let's be shit to him.
Let's be a shit to him and say, Rodrigo,
pull your fucking finger out.
You are our villain of the week. You massive waste of money. We can't wait to see the back of you. Let's hope that you can channel this into a positive effort against Brentford on Sunday and fucking do something.
Look forward to that being reported on News Now. Reading those words back without context.
But while you've got the white, blue, lilac, whatever shirt on, we're fully behind you.
As Mother Teresa said, stop fucking phoning it in, you lazy twat.
I believe she did.
That's what she said. That's what she said to all the people of the nunnery that she worked at. Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know how nuns work.
Yeah.
Or was she a nun? Or was she something else? She used to have an outfit.
She was like a nun at large.
Was she like head nun or something?
Head nun. That's what they call it. Sister.
Head sister. Mother. She's a mother, wasn't she? She wasn't sister. Goes without saying. Get in touch.
We really should have looked at the...
Get in touch if you know if Mother Teresa was a nun. Google will know.
Wikipedia is surely the right place to go. I'll just set up the Katana Baradi Hero of the Week award while you're looking at that, Michael. Obviously, lots of people have nominated Joseph Paul Joffy Gelhardt, including West End Ralph, who describes him as that beautiful little rat wizard, as you put it. We didn't come up with that tag. It was one of our TSB Plus members, wasn't it, who described him as a little rat wizard. The lad is keeping our season alive, he is. And Zach in Australia, that rosy-cheeked little miracle worker, smothered that shit sandwich we were being served in so much deliciousness, I momentarily stopped caring that I was actually still being served shit between two slices of bread.
The strange thing is, I've obviously watched that back a lot of times, and the margins are so narrow, aren't they? Because the trailing leg of this dunk, isn't it? It was on the floor. It's so near to getting the touch that would have stopped it going in, and at that point we're all saying, why didn't you just put it in the first time round? It didn't, and it was just enough.
Yeah, your own mental thought processes are just that split second behind Joffy's, and by the time you've processed your annoyance at him, he's set up Pascal for the equaliser. It's like, oh, that was good. Yeah, it's an obvious one, says not Brian Dean. One of those proper, if that was Messi, we'd be talking about it for ages moments.
Yeah, it's extraordinary just to be able to think in that moment and then do the two things that Rodrigo needs to learn.
Mad Ken Starling says Joffrey had to be. The cojones on that little scouse rat must be massive. Dunk had his measure for 92 minutes, but Joffrey learned and made him look like a proper cart horse with that flick. Outstanding.
Mother Teresa was a nun. She left. Do you know where she's from?
Calcutta, they reckon.
Doncaster.
Close.
Lincoln.
Birthplace of, same country as Gianni Alioski. She's Macedonian.
All right.
So there you go. Little known fact. But yes, she did go to Ireland to become a nun. And that what she was doing at the end, I don't know, I think she was freestyling it towards the end.
Freelance. She might have been
freelance nun. Bit of nunning on the side.
Yeah.
Bit of other stuff too.
Hopefully she didn't
motivational speaking.
Didn't do any work for Leeds United because she wouldn't have got paid. Although they have been paid now, which is good. Just finally on Joffrey, Lee and Cheese says, Joffrey, now he's 20, I feel less guilty for offering my body to him. I have to go back and try and find out what that reference is about, but it sounds kinky.
The mini little mini wizard rat. First occurrence I can find of it is Luke after the Arsenal game. Nominated him as a hero for his chest passes. Joffy's chest passes. More of that, please. You little mini wizard rat. We love it. From Luke.
So, Luke's...
Why hasn't he played more this season? It is frustrating, because I know he didn't have a brilliant game, but he can still do stuff like that, and it does make you wonder why we've not had a bit more space for it.
He's had more injuries than I think people have realised, because it's all been out the public eye. And we were talking the other show about Anthony Gordon trying to mark at the back post and costing an entire game just because he's inexperienced, and whether you put them in the level. And I was listening to the Leeds That podcast interviewed Hayden Evans, who is Charlie Creswell's agent and has been agent to Leeds players for years and years, and he was giving the impression, he was talking about Joffy and Creswell and saying that both of them, obviously as players and to some respects as their agents and their families, you want them to be playing all the time. You just don't understand why they're not in the pitch. But actually, if you take a step back and look at what they've done this season, fine. He was saying with Gal Hartley, it's pretty much what you would want from a player with his talent at his age in this league. Like, all he's really had this season as well is the good stuff. Like, he's not got one of those Anthony Gordon moments where they'll be watching that back in their analysis this week and pointing a finger at a teenager and saying, that's your fault.
That wouldn't be like Frank at all. Frank will say, it's really my fault, this.
All Joffy's had to do is come into games,
do the fun bits,
win a penalty, do some amazing skill, and just get used to being in the Premier League that way. And it was interesting that Hayden Evans was kind of like, obviously he gets pushed from everybody wants to see him play more, but with his experiences and sort of looking for the best thing that it could have gone for him this season, he couldn't have had a better season, really. Couldn't ask for much more.
And you don't get as much of that if we've got a bigger squad either. You know, if you've got competition up front, then he's not the default choice to say, well, why isn't he playing? Because he can then just sort of develop his little wizard rat skills, you know, at his own pace then, can't he?
I wonder what he makes of it if he knows that he's been referred to as a wizard rat.
If him and Dan James are ever comparing notes. What do they call you?
And Rodrigo, obviously, this week can join in as well.
Pascal Strout got a number of nominations as well.
The Prince of Belgium.
Yes, and
the Benelux King.
Netherlands and Luxembourg.
I believe they're the three nations have come together to throw a national holiday. 15th of May will forevermore be Strike Day in the three countries. Not forgetting he's Indonesian.
I was going to say you're missing out. I don't know how that you integrate that into Benelux.
Well, I mean, Belgium and its history has not had a problem with integrating.
What's the name of a word
around the world?
What's the name of that word where you put other words together to make like a new word?
A portmanteau.
That's the one, a portmanteau. Yeah, well, we've had a portmanteau because loads of nominations for Pascal Strout, but a number of people couldn't decide between Joffy or Strauch, so have nominated them both. So is it Joffy and Strauchy? Is it Jof-scal? Is it Pascoffy? What
Jof-scal's quite nice.
Yeah, I like Pascoffy. Sounds like it's like a
biscuit.
No, it's where you buy booze in Liverpool.
All right.
But Jof-scal actually sounds like somebody from Liverpool.
And just playing the tape backwards a little bit, Llorente got a couple of nominations for the key pass to Joffy in the first place. Frank's Heart Attack said Llorente's one brain cell is the hero of the week for taking control and deciding to pass to Joffy instead of taking a piss and attempting to rocket that ball to the moon.
Yeah, the hero nomination is not for the pass, it's for not shooting. And it's and I can remember quite clearly that ball being at his feet outside the penalty area and leaning forward in my seat and going, don't shoot. Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And then with no idea of what was going to happen. The pass is good. The pass is fine. Not shooting is probably the best thing Llorente has done for a while.
We had a number of nominations for other players. Rafa got a nomination by somebody who didn't leave a name. Says, was lovely of him to give us a final extra instalment of his highlights reel before he leaves. I trust that corporate, that's the department corporate, will publish it to the Lego movie song Everything is Awesome.
Very catchy, that.
I want to nominate him too slightly for being so dedicated to the long throws, even though he's really bad at them.
Yeah.
They're a real mixed bag. Some go much further than others, don't they? It's like he's not got his technique right and he just catches one properly sometimes.
He's quite a slight boy.
You'd rewind to that training session when Jesse Marsh gets them all to, who here has a long throw, and then they all do them. The next phrase should have been, okay, let's not do that. Short throws, guys.
You can't take corners either, I noticed as well on the weekend.
That's a long running theme, but there was a point when we got a throw, and I think somebody was just going to take it, and he was like, no, I do this, I hate it, I don't want to. And he was looking at it, pointing at Liam Cooper and Llorente. He's like, I'm not going to do this if you're not getting in the box. We've all got to do this. None of us want to. It won't work.
Been made to eat your vegetables as a kid.
But we're absolutely... He is the big brother going like, Mum wants us to eat this. We're eating it.
Eat the sprouts.
You're just making her... She's cooked this. Stop making her life difficult. This is what Jessie wants. We're going to do it. And... I think we've all wavered and watched Rafinha a bit, and you saw him at the goalpost at the end and think, is his mind on the job? Is he thinking about Barcelona? Is he thinking about what he could be doing? But and he may have had those moments as well where he's thinking, what is in this for me? These fish and chips people, why am I even here? But I really took from that game that he's going through it. He's doing everything that he is being asked to do, and things that other players cannot do and trying to do to get us going. And if that involves, even down the other week when he's screaming at people for keeping the ball in the East Stand and all that stuff and yelling at them for throwing paper, he's really doing his best to take charge of a situation, which is good because he's our best player and he's the one you want doing that. So,
we get a farewell goal from him on Sunday. He's going to win us the game. Rounding up the nominations, Rafinha does get nominated by No Name, Calvin nominated by John P, No Mercy Crease, Jackie, Ender Melier, Katie Dallas and Coops. Ken Bates stole my seat, starts on Joffy, makes sense, then moves into Firpo. Lucy Loves Cock says that tackle to stop us from going behind by 2 was a massive point in the game. He played through injury and fought hard.
And we should point out that Lucy does also say insert your own jokes, because I've used tackle, massive and hard, so that when you described her as Lucy Loves Cock, which is not the name she gave herself.
Oh no, they're not.
That was you inserting your own joke. It's all fair.
It was. I hereby declare this baby. That's what they say at christenings, isn't it? We'll have to ask the nuns and check, but Lucy Loves Cock.
It was a great tackle. It was brilliant. Good, and I think there was the little flyby mention for Liam Cooper in there, and I think he's going to be big at the weekend because Eriksen's crosses, Cooper's head.
Yes.
Game 1.
Ryan, big fan of the fans, and Eddie Gray belting out marching on together as well. That was nice. Ilkley Arsehole, Kevin Friend, he was the ref in the Spurs, or was it VAR, in Spurs versus Burnley. Either way, he was responsible somehow for the handball decision that kept Leeds in it for another week.
He's really good on that, actually. He goes and spends ages looking at the monitor, and then he introduced a little bit of suspense into his gestures. He came back and he drew
the air telly.
He drew the air television. And then he paused, and I was like, what's he going to do? Point at the spot. Yes, you little...
It's like on the winner of the X Factor is... Dramatic pause.
On the Arsenal fan TV, actually, one of the clips I watched, there was a VAR thing, it was something Arsenal wanted. And one of them got confused and started drawing a ball. He was going, VAR, giving the universal symbol for got the ball, ref.
Not the man, yeah.
Got the ball, not the man. But he was doing that instead of the square. Which was it is confusing.
Getting your gestures wrong.
Unless he's got one of those round tellies that they had in the very old days.
Scrooge, yeah, for Brentford and Tottenham. Great bunch of lads. I feel sick. Thanks to Kevin as well for being nice about us. And Mike, go Aston Villa, go Pantera, who is fighting the good fight in Austria. Who's your hero of the week? Is it Joffrey?
Well, I think...
Is it Jof-scal?
It's Jof-scal.
Give it to Jof-scal.
Even it was... one of the match reports, I think the Mail or something, was criticising Marsh for saying it was a winning goal, and it was like he misspoke, and it made me think, because when I was writing my match report, I started by writing down Joffy's winner. I was like,
A, he didn't score.
2 big things,
B,
but it felt like that because the skill was so good and the moment was so vital. But Struijk has had a right arse of a time over the last few months. Is, form has gone, and all the things where you think we're looking at the next Van Dijk guaranteed, he's hit the buffers as a young player will do in a relegation battle in the hardest league in the world, when managers are being changed, everything's chaos around him. It's affected his form, and even when he came on, people weren't happy with the substitution, and I think he started off he made a mistake with like his first touch or something. You're thinking, oh God, what are we doing? poor old Pascal. And he had a right old bad time against Chelsea as well, I thought. So you give him that chance, and that's it, where it's so easy to think Joffy does all that, and then the header just goes Welbeck style into the crowd. But he couldn't have done it any better, could it? Absolute perfection. So concentrated, mind is there, boom. Execution, and looked like he absolutely loved the celebrations. Even then had it's our pal Phil in his first draft of his match report said it was his first senior goal, and had loads of people saying he scored against Arsenal, and he was first one at Elland Road. So all the good stuff that Struijk has done has kind of been forgotten and had bits chipped off it because of all the attention on the Jof-scal. So it's Jof-scal. They have to share it at minimum. And I think Joffy is going to win a lot of awards over his future career. So if he just gives 3/4 of this, can go to Struijk and be nice. And by giving this award to them as a pair, we're pleasing 5 non-English nation states, are we? The 3 Benelux ones, Indonesia and Liverpool.
Of course.
So congratulations to all 5 of those nations. That's it then. Final week of the season.
Here we go.
Wonder how it's going to feel next week. We'll find out then, I guess, won't we? We'll got the Phil Hay show. Yeah, we're doing it slightly later this week. That's going to be Friday morning. We're recording that. We'll get it out Friday afternoon. Match ball.
Let's see.
Match ball Sunday afternoon. Hey, you never know. We might even do it on Thursday if things go well. Let's see. We'll be back in due course. Thank you for watching and listening. We appreciate it. We'll see you in a bit.
The Square Ball Podcast.